As we all know, poetry and language flow like the wind. Venti captures this spirit in his ballads. Flora and fauna he sings of seem to have a life of their own, and transport us to the moon and the stars. This self-proclaimed best bard of the mortal world gets his strength, his unwithering inspiration from the wind. But what Venti seeks in life is not eternal fame for his ballads. Rather, he'd be happy with a cup of wine and a lyre to sing the marvelous stories of the world. Yes, that would make Venti the Bard very content indeed. Diluc's explosive, ruthless fighting style and his aloof manner are all admirable traits. But if the disaster from 5 centuries ago were to happen again, if he were to face the same evil that I once did, would he still hold fast to his resolve? This, too, makes me most curious indeed. When the people of Mondstadt talk about their home, they proudly call it the City of Wind, Dandelions, and Freedom. Perhaps it was Mondstadt's atmosphere of freedom that led the famous adventurer Alice to entrust her daughter Klee to the care of the Knights of Favonius. With this freedom, Klee has had a happy and unrestrained childhood, but all baby birds must leave the nest someday. Hopefully, our little Spark Knight will remain just as happy-go-lucky when that day comes, and keep smiling all the way. Though Jean may lack experience, Mondstadt has only prospered since she assumed Varka's great responsibilities. Even I, who has seen countless people, must respect her desire to always defend Mondstadt. But unlike most who bear great burdens, this young knight has remained as tenacious as ever. How was her will molded, and what sustains her edge such that it never wears down? If fate wills it, I will find the answer to these questions. As a zombie, Qiqi has escaped the grip of both time and death. How Qiqi entered this state of existence, I do not know, but I doubt it was of her own volition. Are the heavenly principles toying with her, or is fate seeking to torture her? Is an ordinary life of simple pleasures really a thing so fragile? Mona's hydromancy is indeed unique. No one can deny her intelligence and talent. Within Mondstadt, there are few who possess the ability and a desire to seek truth equal to hers. But beware, O young seeker. You must sacrifice your all to unravel the world's secrets. Can the astrologist Mona truly bear such a burden? Human history is to be written by the people. Even without the protection of the gods, Liyue would flourish as always. This is Keqing's belief. This desire to take fate into her own hands. I remember this feeling. Will she be able to bring her vision to life, to protect this land she calls home? In the hands of the Keqing, where is Liyue headed? The road ahead is unclear, but we shall wait and see. Few know where Tartaglia acquired his fighting skills before becoming a harbinger. Nor do many know where his lust for combat originates. There is a dangerous secret to the martial legacy he inherits, but it is one that even he himself does not fully understand. Since becoming a Fatui harbinger, fighting for the Tsaritsa is his new motivation as a warrior. Childe is the Tsaritsa's weapon of war, and he stands for the might of Snezhnaya. An icy storm is starting to blow towards the other nations. Brace yourselves. Tevat is about to get cold. While Liyue Harbor grows restless on the eve of disaster, as the host of the Rite of Parting, Zhongli still calmly goes about his work. The world around him may be descending into chaos, yet he remains unperturbed, sipping his tea and watching a good show. Quite the fascinating character. As Liyue faces the turbulence of change, does he believe it is none of his business? Or is he also a player in this game, acting behind the scenes? It may be some time before the answers finally emerge. But no matter, for time is not something I lack. No one can dispute Albedo's talent, but the source of the knowledge he possesses, it once brought about the destruction of a glorious nation. All that most people know of him is his title, Kraida Prince, and that he gained his position in the Knights on recommendation from Alice the Adventurer. Beyond this, the young man is a stranger to them, a complete mystery, and the essence of his knowledge is equally unknown. But I know it well. It hails from Kanria, the art of Kemia, soil and chalk, the universe and earth, pure dust and the birth of human life. There is no mistaking it. I am content to watch most crises play out from the sidelines, but if Albedo were ever to make a single wrong move, I could not let myself ignore it. The Liyue Qixing has changed over generations. Centuries have passed in the blink of an eye. Ganyu's accompanied Liyue through many a storm, but Liyue Harbor itself, can this city really become a safe harbor for an adeptus in the world of mortals? When the Geo-Archon Morax was alive, an adeptus like Ganyu could find a sense of belonging in the human city. But at present, when the rite of parting has already marked his end, the loneliness of an inhuman living in the human world, will it take Ganyu over completely? For millennia, tales of the Yakshas have been told in Liyue. But over time, these defenders of the masses have all but disappeared. Only Xiao still honors his contract with the Geo-Archon by performing the duties assigned to him, though the cost of this duty is perpetual solitude. I know that Adepti suffer heartache just as I do, but I cannot know Xiao's future. Will Xiao be ravaged by the unending war he wages and be plunged into despair? Or will he meet someone who understands his sacrifice and can shine a ray of light into his dark world? Wangsheng Funeral Parlor conducts rites of utmost solemnity, and its staff are used to speaking little, making Hu Tao's liveliness seem an ill fit. Her elders once criticized her mischief-making, but having seen her immaculate conduct of the parlor's affairs, they could do naught but admit their error. Life and death are but two halves of an endless cycle. Life leads unto death, and death unto new life. Why then should death be taboo? Hu Tao has had the wisdom to see this, though some of her elders have yet to do so. Mondstadt's nights are peaceful and tranquil, but in the quiet of the dark, there are those who glimpse a flash of cold steel. This is the dour sister who metes out punishment to protect this place of peace and the sisters who are purity incarnate. Unperturbed with dirtying her hands, she has become a blood-soaked executioner. And having witnessed the cruelty of this world, she can no longer close her eyes and extol the blessings of the gods. Rosaria, the most unique sister in Mondstadt's Church of Favonius, never needed redemption from the gods, for she grasped it with her own hands. Yanfei was born during Liyue's peacetime. Though part illuminated beast, she never signed a contract with the Geo-Archon. Unconstrained by Adepti responsibility, she keeps herself busy in the city, experiencing all manner of worldly affairs, comprehending all levels of human emotion. In her hands, the legal codices are a contract, a tool, a framework of reason, but never a cage. She longs for a free-spirited life well within the confines of the law, but each detail of the cumbersome legal codices is also dear to her heart. Perhaps one day, a balance can be struck between them. There are those with hatred in their hearts that are able to do what Eula has done. Take the lust for vengeance bequeathed to them by fate and channel it into a force for self-advancement. For Eula, this has set her down a path of peace and inner strength. Still, there are others for whom the passage of time does nothing to quell the poison spreading through their souls. Only the future will reveal the path they take, but inevitably, it will be a different one. Kaedahara Kazuha is no aimless wanderer. He has a deep sense of purpose. The young samurai left his homeland behind not to part with the past, but in the search for a new hope. As he navigates his path, he charts a course through the myriad of storms that come his way. His exposure to the elements keeps him in touch with nature and connects him with other people who cross his path. Those who choose to defy the gods are destined for hardship. But even a maple leaf blowing in the breeze, if it falls into the right company, can learn to sail the storm winds of the sea to shores beyond the horizon. When Inazuma locals discuss the Yashiro Commission, they are full of praise for Kamisato Ayaka's cordial manner and sincerity of speech at social gatherings. When the name Shirasagi Himegimi is uttered, it is done so in tribute to her flawless etiquette and impeccable character. But what can anyone know of how Ayaka views herself in her innermost being? As the princess of the Yashiro Commission's Kamisato clan, Ayaka shoulders her family's duty to cherish the aspirations of ordinary people. But she also has dreams of her own that she holds dear. Perhaps the thing that she really needs is a companion on her journey, with whom to share a pot of tea and to play a game of Go. And with whom to stand shoulder to shoulder when it comes time to draw her blade. As the explosions in the sky fade away, breathless spectators find their friends and leave. But Yoimiya is already busy preparing for the next display. It is a time-honored routine, unchanging night after night. And everyone in Inazuma looks forward to the splendid sight of her latest creations. After a brief moment, the dazzling flashes fade and the crowds are gone. After hundreds of years, this sight is nothing new to me. But who's to say that brief moments of splendor can't become everlasting memories? The god who pursues eternity has yet to realize that not all that endures is constant. Time can keep fireworks in people's minds long after they've faded. Just as, once in a while, it can send stars fixed high above, plummeting down to the ground. Striving for the dreams of your youthhood is an admirable thing indeed. Only by improving yourself can you face the vicissitudes of life. And when it comes to improving yourself, whether it's sharpening your combat skills or simply trying to grow taller, to the young, anything worth striving for is a truly valuable endeavor. Now that I think about it, I too was probably once that way. Naive, persistent, and untiring. I'm only joking, of course. I've long forgotten the happenings of hundreds of years ago. Neighboring the Dark Sea, Inazuma has witnessed many a war. For the pursuit of eternity and the prosperity of Inazuma, the Raiden Shogun stuck stubbornly to her path. But what let some bloom made others wither. There is no gain without the pain of loss. When facing their fears, Archons and mortals are all the same. Yet Archons are born arrogant. By attempting to grasp the heavenly principles, she brought a disaster upon mortals. Perhaps some may say that I'm overstating what happened, but I'm just speaking from experience after all. As a Tengu raised by humans, Kujou Sara heeds the call of humanity, forsaking her own kind, to fight for the mortal world in battle. Perhaps those who achieve such outstanding feats are too satisfied with their own brilliance to realize that their god has raised them in a prison. Sometimes I cannot decide whether the greater tragedy is to have lost all one's own ambition or to have adopted the wishes of a god as one's own. As an outsider in Inazuma, Thoma is often viewed as someone who doesn't belong. To this day, many believe the slander behind his back. But through his own hard work and the Kamisato clan's tolerant attitude, Thoma has carved out a space for himself here, despite the somewhat hostile environment. Occasionally a thought crosses my mind. If one who has turned their back on the gods ever chose to follow them once more, would any such favorable treatment be extended to them? Regrettably, no opportunity of this nature exists, nor would I have the desire to take it. Over centuries of futility, I have at least learned one thing. So long as you have determination, you can always keep going. A defender's will is a precious thing, and hatred can serve to nourish it. Compared to his peers, Arataki Itto has lived a colorful life and is familiar with the inside of a prison cell, fully qualifying him as the rightful leader of the Arataki gang. Though some may contest his way of handling things, the members of this young Crimson Oni's gang choose to follow him, despite the diet of grilled lavender melon. Well, it's one way of living. And ultimately, surviving on sporadic work and next to no mora is still an easier task than trying to deny your destiny. Whether they seek it or not, those of exceptional ability and character tend to gain the trust of the masses. For Gorou, this trust serves both as a confirmation of his abilities and motivation to hone them continuously. But the cost of being someone that everyone relies on is the burden of responsibility that it brings. Everything from helping the troops with their daily struggles to keeping Watatsumi Island safe and secure ultimately falls on Gorou's shoulders. Time and fate treat such notions with contempt, which can make the burden unbearably heavy. If one day the world is turned upside down, will his instincts and determination alone provide him with enough strength to keep carrying the load he bears? Liyue Harbor is known as a bustling melting pot of a city, ready to welcome any and every lonely figure. But if Shenhe truly wishes to rejoin human society, there is much she will have to learn. Even I myself do not relish the solitary life I lead. When others are fortunate enough to meet a companion for their journey, I sincerely wish them the very best. After all, to this day, I hold that people should be authors of their own fate, both the crane ready to make peace with the past, and the beast with a grudge to bear have the freedom to make their journey home. In storytelling skill, the writers of the Yae publishing house are my superior. When I get talking, I tend to speak of true historical events. But under Chief Editor Yae's guidance, works of sheer fantasy thrive, accounting for the vast majority of popular light novels. Maybe in another few centuries, archaeologists will find books filled with pure fiction, mistake them for rare historical records, and draw all kinds of conclusions from them. Perhaps by then, the truth of the past will be consumed as entertaining fiction. Its only purpose, to meet people's need for novelty, save for the sneering of the kitsune. All that will remain is the despairing sighs of the long-forgotten. Many years ago, the Yashiro Commission faced upheaval for their transgressions. The Kamisato clan survives today because they found favor in the eyes of a god, but they bear an eternal obligation to be guardians of the divine. If you ask the head of the Kamisato clan what he truly holds sacred, I dare say the will of the gods would not be his answer. And so, though Kamisato Ayato appears to handle his affairs with consummate ease, when all is said and done, he is simply an ordinary soul caught between the divine and the mundane. If there comes a day when the instruction of the gods conflicts with that which he has sworn to protect, how then will he preserve his delicately maintained stability? Fate is a cruel and perilous thing. It bodes only ill, lurking in dark places like the chasm. To me, that place is the epitome of human misfortune. People died there, far from their homes. People with hopes and dreams, dutiful to the bitter end. Different motivations resulted in the same tragic conclusion. People ought to fear disaster, unless they can learn to draw strength from their fear. Perhaps Yelan is just such a unique case. Undeterred by fate's cruel design, there is no path she will not go down in the pursuit of secrets. But what if, one day, she descends into a place from which there is no escape? I am curious, by which of her many sides would she see herself be remembered? To most, the world provides boundless possibilities, and people are free to make their own choices as long as they are ready to accept the consequences. Fortunately, Kuki Shinobu is a talented individual, and the troubles stirred up by the Arataki gang are a price worth paying for her freedom. To thank Kujou Sara for an introduction, Shinobu once treated her to drinks at Uyu Restaurant. I doubt that the Tenryou Commission General could have ever imagined a throwaway comment she made over drinks with her friend would end up ensuring the longevity of the Arataki gang, cementing their place as a thorn in her side for years to come. For most detectives, finding the truth is the end goal of every case. Once the file is closed and the criminal brought to justice, the satisfied sleuth sits back and congratulates themselves on a job well done. But even a job well done is not enough for Heizou. Finding the truth is good, but finding a way to dissuade criminals in the first place is even better. If it were anyone else, I would laugh off their delusions of grandeur. Surely no single detective could hope to reduce crime through the sheer weight of their reputation. And yet, in the case of Shikanoin Heizou, I find myself entertaining a faint and uncharacteristic sense of optimism. With that said, it is a pity that a detective of his caliber was unavailable to take on the case of the deicide of the God of Contracts.